The courtroom doors slammed open so hard the sound echoed through the entire hall. Everyone turned at once. A young black man stood at the entrance, his chest rising and falling, his eyes locked on the front of the room. "Stop this trial." His voice was sharp, controlled, urgent. Gasps spread across the courtroom. The judge frowned immediately. "Excuse me, who are you?" But the man didn't answer right away. Because at the defense table, a middle-aged black woman sat with tears in her eyes, her hands trembling. His mother, and beside her, a white prosecutor stood confidently, already irritated. "Your Honor, this is highly inappropriate." "Security, wait." The judge raised a hand. The room fell into tense silence. The young man stepped forward slowly. "My name is Daniel Carter," he said. "And if this trial continues, you're about to send an innocent woman to prison." A ripple of whispers spread instantly. The prosecutor scoffed. "We've heard enough dramatics already. The evidence is clear." Daniel didn't even look at him. He walked straight to the center of the courtroom. "You think it's clear?" he said. "Because you never bothered to look deeper?" The judge leaned forward slightly. "Mr. Carter, you are interrupting an active proceeding. You have 1 minute to explain yourself." Daniel nodded once. "That's all I need." He turned and pointed toward the screen where evidence photos had been displayed earlier. "A week ago, you showed security footage from a jewelry store robbery," he said. "You claimed my mother was the one who stole those diamonds." The prosecutor crossed his arms. "Because she was there." "Yes," Daniel replied. "She was there." A pause. "But she wasn't a thief." Murmurs again. The judge narrowed his eyes. "Do you have proof?" Daniel reached into his bag and pulled out a small device. "I do." The prosecutor laughed under his breath. "Let me guess." "A last-minute miracle." Daniel finally looked at him. "No, just the truth. You ignored." He handed the device to the court clerk. "It's enhanced footage. The same video you used, but clearer." The screen flickered as the video loaded. Everyone leaned forward. The grainy footage appeared first. A woman standing near the counter. The same image that had already been shown multiple times. The same image used to build the entire case. "That's her," the prosecutor said confidently. Daniel didn't respond. "Play the enhanced version." The screen shifted. The image sharpened. Details became clearer. Faces more defined. Movements easier to follow. And then the entire room went silent, because the woman in the video wasn't acting alone. Behind her, barely visible before, was another figure, a man, white, wearing a store employee badge. He moved quickly, smooth, slipping the diamonds into the woman's bag while her back was turned, setting her up. Gasps filled the room. "No," someone whispered. The judge sat up straight, paw sad. The video froze. The prosecutor's confidence cracked for the first time. This doesn't prove anything," he said quickly. "It could be edited." Daniel shook his head. "It's not edited. It's enhanced. There's a difference." He stepped closer to the screen. "Zoom in on his badge." The clerk hesitated, then followed the instruction. The image zoomed in. A name became visible. Clear, undeniable. The courtroom erupted. The judge slammed the gavel. "Order, order," but the damage was already done. The narrative had shattered. The prosecutor looked shaken now. "This is new evidence. We need time to verify." "You had time," Daniel cut in. "You had access to the same footage. You just didn't care to look closely." The words landed heavy, because they weren't just about the case. They were about something deeper, something uncomfortable. The judge turned to the prosecutor. "Why was this not discovered earlier?" He hesitated. "The footage provided was unclear." Daniel spoke again. "Unclear wasn't the problem. Silent. You saw what you expected to see." The courtroom went quiet again, because everyone understood exactly what he meant. The judge leaned back, processing everything. Then he looked at Daniel. "How did you get this enhancement?" Daniel took a breath. "I work in forensic video analysis." A murmur of surprise spread. "I've spent the last 5 years helping law enforcement uncover details others miss." He paused. "And when I saw the footage used against my mother, I knew something was wrong." The prosecutor tried one last time. "This doesn't change the fact that she was present at the scene." Daniel nodded. "She was a customer, at the wrong place, at the wrong time." He looked at his mother, and the wrong person decided she was guilty. Tears streamed down her face. The judge raised the gavel again. "This court will take a recess. The new evidence will be reviewed immediately." He paused. "And Ms. Carter is to be released from custody pending that review." The words hit like thunder. Relief, shock, disbelief. Daniel closed his eyes for a brief moment. Not victory, just relief. But the story didn't end in that courtroom. Because outside those walls, The truth spread fast. A reporter had been present. By evening, the headline was everywhere. Innocent woman almost convicted after critical evidence ignored. The video clip of the enhanced footage went viral. Millions watched it. Millions reacted. And one question kept coming up again and again. How did this happen? The answer wasn't simple, but it was clear. People saw what they expected to see, and sometimes that expectation was shaped by bias. A week later, the real culprit was arrested. The store employee, the man from the video, he confessed within hours. Said he chose her because she looked like an easy target. Those words hit harder than anything else. Easy target. Because she wouldn't be believed. Because she wouldn't be defended. Because no one would look twice. Except someone did. Her son. Daniel didn't celebrate when the charges were dropped. He didn't go on interviews. He didn't chase attention. Instead, he went back to work. But something had changed. Because now, people knew his name. And more importantly, they understood his message. Weeks later, Daniel was invited to speak at a legal conference. A room full of lawyers, judges, investigators. He stood at the podium, calm as ever. I didn't save my mother, he began. I just did what should have been done from the start. He looked around the room. You had the evidence. You had the tools. A pause. You just didn't look hard enough. Silence filled the hole. Not defensive, reflective, because deep down, they knew this wasn't just one case. It was a pattern, a habit, a system that sometimes moved too fast and questioned too little. Daniel stepped away from the podium, and as he walked off stage, the applause started slowly, then grew louder. Not just for him, but for the truth he forced everyone to face. Later that night, Daniel visited his mother. She was home now, safe, free. They sat together in the quiet living room. No cameras, no headlines, just peace. She looked at him and smiled softly. You didn't give up on me. Daniel shook his head. I couldn't. A small pause. Then he added quietly, they almost didn't see you. She reached for his hand. But you did. And that was the difference. Not power, not luck, but someone choosing to see the truth, even when it wasn't obvious. Because in a world full of quick judgments, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is look again. The house was quiet, but not empty. For the first time in weeks, there were no guards outside, no tension in the air, no fear sitting in every corner, just silence, real silence. Daniel sat across from his mother, watching her carefully, even though she was free. Something in her eyes hadn't fully settled yet. Trauma doesn't disappear just because the truth comes out. Are you okay? He asked gently. She gave a small smile. I'm trying to be. Daniel nodded. He understood, because he had felt it too. That anger, that helplessness, that moment when you realize the system you trust can turn against you without warning. I kept thinking, she said slowly, her voice slightly shaky. What if you didn't see it? What if you didn't check the footage again? Daniel didn't answer immediately, because he had thought about that too. Too many times, they were ready to end it. She continued, ready to lock me away and move on. Her hands tightened slightly, all because of one video, one assumption. Daniel leaned forward a little. It wasn't just the video, he said quietly. She looked at him. It was everything that came with it. A pause, the way they looked at you, the way they spoke to you, the way they decided before proving anything. She nodded slowly, because she felt it, every second of it. The doubt, the judgment, the quiet belief that she was already guilty. Daniel stood up and walked toward the window. Outside, the world looked normal. Cars passing, people walking, life moving forward. But he knew something most people didn't. How close everything had come to falling apart. I almost missed it, he admitted. His mother looked up quickly. What? Daniel turned back to her. That detail in the footage, the employee behind you, he exhaled slowly. The first time I watched it, I didn't see him either. The room went still, because that truth was uncomfortable. If Daniel hadn't looked again, if he hadn't trusted his instinct, everything would have been different. I only caught it because something felt off, he continued. Your movement didn't match the accusation. It didn't make sense. He paused. So I slowed it down, frame by frame. His mother watched him closely. And then I saw it, he said. A hand that didn't belong to you. A deep silence followed. Not heavy, but real. Because sometimes, justice doesn't come from big moments. It comes from small details that someone refuses to ignore. A few days later, Daniel returned to his office. The same place he had worked for years. But it didn't feel the same anymore. Colleagues looked at him differently now. Not just as a professional, but as someone who had challenged something bigger. One of his coworkers approached him quietly. "I saw the footage," he said. "What you did. Most people wouldn't have caught that." Daniel shrugged slightly. "It wasn't about catching it." The man frowned. "Then what was it about?" Daniel looked at him, caring enough to look again. The man didn't respond, because that answer was heavier than it sounded. Later that afternoon, Daniel received an unexpected call. "Mr. Carter?" a voice said on the other end. "This is the district attorney's office." Daniel's expression didn't change. "I figured you might call." A brief pause. "We'd like to meet with you." Why another pause? "Because what happened in that courtroom should not have happened." Daniel leaned back slightly. "And now you want to fix it?" "Yes." Daniel was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. "It's not about fixing one case." "I know," the voice replied. "That's why we need your help." That got his attention. "My help. We're reviewing multiple cases where video evidence played a key role. We want you to consult." Daniel's eyes narrowed slightly. "How many cases?" The answer came quietly. "More than we're comfortable admitting." The weight of that statement settled in, because if one case almost destroyed his family, how many others had already slipped through? "I'll think about it," Daniel said. "Please do," the voice replied, "because this is bigger than all of us." The call ended. Daniel sat there for a long moment, thinking, not about recognition, not about opportunity, but about responsibility, because now he knew something he couldn't ignore. This wasn't rare. This wasn't an exception. This was happening again and again. That night, Daniel sat alone, reviewing files sent over by the district attorney's office. Case after case, footage after footage, and slowly a pattern began to appear. Quick conclusions, minimal review, assumptions filling in the gaps where clarity was missing. Daniel clenched his jaw slightly, because he could see it clearly now. Not every case was intentional, not every mistake was malicious, but the impact, it was always real. Lives affected, families broken, truth overlooked. Hours passed without him noticing, until one file made him stop. A young black teenager, accused of theft, convicted based on surveillance footage. Daniel stared at the screen. Something about it felt familiar. He leaned closer, paused the video, replayed it again and again. His eyes sharpened, because there it was, the same kind of detail, the same kind of mistake, a shadow that didn't match, a movement that didn't belong. Daniel sat back slowly, his heart pounding slightly. Not again. The words slipped out quietly, but they carried weight, because this time, it wasn't his mother. It was someone else. Someone who didn't have a Daniel, and that realization changed everything. The next morning, Daniel walked into the district attorney's office. No hesitation, no second thoughts. "I'll do it," he said. The officials looked relieved. "Thank you." Daniel shook his head slightly. "Don't thank me yet." He placed the file on the table. "You have another problem?" They looked down at it. "What is this?" Daniel met their eyes. Another innocent person. Silence filled the room. Because this wasn't just about one mistake anymore. It was about a system that needed to learn how to see, really see. And Daniel wasn't going to stop. Not now, not after everything. Because he understood something most people didn't. Justice isn't just about proving guilt. It's about protecting the innocent. And sometimes, that requires looking at the same thing everyone else saw, and having the courage to say, "They got it wrong."